Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I just wanted to share quickly about a situation that I found myself in recently because I think it's one that we all find ourselves in, and that's where you've been disappointed by somebody or somebody's let you down. It really caused me to go and take a look or re-examine my understanding of expectations and the difference between those and standards. Expectations have, that's a word that I've kind of shied away from in adulthood because it would come up in the context of like dating where someone wants to sit down and talk about expectations. But really there was just an underlying confusion for me about the difference between the expectations and standards. And so people would tell me to, lower my expectations. I would always be a little bit resistant to that or defiant of that because I confused that with lowering my standards, which is something I didn't want to do. So to be clear, standards are external. They are measurements. Those are the, your morals, your values, put into action, essentially. So how you treat yourself, how you treat others, and expectations are more internal. So projections of how we think situations should turn out, how outcomes should be, how things should feel, what people should say. So they're two very different things, and it's important to know the difference because ultimately we are, we control our own happiness to some extent. And understanding and being mindful of the two is very much the key to a lot of our own personal happiness. So for me, what's worked has been really trying to be mindful of lowering expectations of people. So being mindful of when my expectations are unreasonable. So not just my expectations of other people, but my expectations of myself. And the two are mirrors of each other. But also increasing my levels of acceptance of people. So accepting that people are fallible just like I am fallible and that they will mess up. Learning forgiveness, learning tools for forgiveness. And at the same time, I'm able to keep my standards, my values, and be true to myself. And really, truly, that's the key, is being consistent with that, because in doing that, I attract people who have similar values and standards, and the expectations and the standards can come more into line when I'm interacting or pursuing relationships, friendships, any types of relationships with that in mind. That applies to the workplace too. It's not a mistake that I pick girls who, women, who have similar values with regards to quality of work and care for the client and communication. Communication is one of the key ones for me. So what does that mean for me in my real life? That means remembering that acceptance is not approval. Accepting people for where they're at does not necessarily mean that I have to approve of what they're doing. I can conduct myself. My job is to keep my side of the street clean and focus on how I treat people because that's the right thing to do, not because I expect them to do it back, and not getting upset when they don't. It also means that I don't have to be the one to police or teach people how to act. Sometimes the hard part is letting go of situations or walking away from situations. Letting go of the expectation isn't necessarily the problem. It's letting go of what we want the person to be in our world or in our life, in whatever context that means. It also means I don't have the right to beat somebody's head over the wall over and over when they're not meeting my expectations. It's my responsibility to be mindful of when that's happening and turning into a toxic situation and taking the appropriate steps. So I just wanted to share that. That's enough from me. I hope everybody has a happy weekend. Remember, expectations and standards are different, and remembering that can be the key to a lot of happiness and avoiding a lot of unhappiness and anger in our lives. So have a good one, y'all.